The first exercise that we do, one of the most basic Ukemi exercise, I think you would call the most basic, is just Koho Tento. And so to start out, this back leg needs to be tucked as far as possible, and this front leg is kind of at a 90-degree angle. So it looks like this from the side. And I just put my hands here, and the goal is to keep your back round so that when you fall down, you don't hit like this. Now this is actually not too bad. You don't want to fall down flat like this, right? And more importantly, you don't want to hit your head. Boom. So when we do Koho Tento, when we're rolling back, we're keeping our back curved and we're keeping our chin tucked. And then for this exercise, we actually change the leg position. So I'm going to roll back, switch my legs, come back up. Roll back, switch my legs, come back up. And that's it. Okay. The next one after Koho Tento is going to Handachi. Okay. The challenge in going to Handachi. So here is this. This is what it looks like. Right. We're just moving from here to here. Back. So how does that work? Well, if you come in and your leg is out like this, and you try to come up, you're going to be stopped. Right? You see this leg? I can't leave it out like this. It has to come in close. I'll come in like this. Boom, this leg is tight. Boom, this leg is tight. That allows me to get my weight over that leg and push up. Okay? As close as that can be. It's best to have that very close. So, when you're practicing this, come to here. And then move right to here. In fact, this in itself is a really good exercise. Moving from all the way sitting to half stance, right? Without doing what that one, because that's what you want to avoid. So if you're here, it should be smooth. Now, there are some tricks. Some people will come up and say, reach for something and grab at it. That's okay if you're a beginner. At some point, you need to really understand what your hips are doing and be able to move it without that crutch. So at first, if you want to do that, that might help you while you reach, and this is kind of a mental thing, but at some point, you need to really think about this and having all this control here. Okay? From the front again to this. Okay? The last step is you go down, come up. Just bring the foot here. Go down. Come up. 1, 2, 3. It's just 3 steps. 1, 2, switch. So we 1 position, 2nd position, 3rd position. It's just a progression. Okay, try that. Okay, so the next step after the standing down and up, Koho Tento down and up, we have down and over, where we come down, next, come around like this. So that way if you get pushed backwards and you end up rolling all the way back because you have a lot of momentum, this is the roll you want to use. And this prevents you from going all the way back with a lot of force and banging your head, right? Because if your force is that much and you're going straight down, boom, even a regular roll is going to end up on your head. So you got to figure out some way to get the head out of the way. So you just come down and see my head is turned to the side. You see that? So I go down here. My head doesn't touch the ground. My leg comes through. So if we want to go down, and always look, coming up with intent, having the hands in front of you like this. Main point, don't let your head touch the ground. Okay, so now we'll talk about a forward roll, and we will start from a squatting position or from a lower position to make it easier. And the forward roll is very basic. You want your hips to be almost square, but your upper body is at a 45-degree angle. And this is kind of tricky. And the reason why I say this is because if your hips turn too far with your body, then you end up doing this kind of sideways roll, which is very common with beginners. Okay? The other common mistake that beginners make is instead of their whole body being turned to the side, their whole body is turned to the front, and they end up doing this kind of gymnastics roll, which is fine in gymnastics, where you don't have to worry about your head hitting the ground. But you never want your head to hit the ground on the street, which is where you're going to be falling. So the solution to that is, again, the lower body is almost square, like you're in a front stance, right? Because if I stood up like this, I would be in a front stance. But then my upper body turns at a 45-degree angle, and that allows me to roll starting with my shoulder and down across the back. So it's almost like the mat follows from my shoulder to my lower back, if I'm like tracing where I roll on the mat. And my hands are in this 45-degree plane, circular plane here, right? So I'm going to use my hands as a guide at first, but don't touch this hand to the ground. So here, just like that. Show you from the other side. So again, this hand and this hand come out, but you don't want to touch this hand to the ground. I've seen a lot of people do the roll like this. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to do the roll with the hand here, whether or not you're using this kind of guide. Okay? So one way of starting out doing it very slowly is to just go all the way down as close as you can get to the ground. Look, I'm gonna get my head out of the way. My shoulder's almost touching the ground, and then just get that one little movement. That's one way to start. It's good for beginners. You can go slow, all the way down to the ground. My shoulder's almost touching, and then whoop, I just kick off. That last little part, you gotta have a leap of faith, because you gotta kick off at the end. You don't have to do that when you're standing because you have gravity, but when you're down here, you have to do that little kick. Another way that you can do this as a beginner is to take that hand and reach all the way down like this, right, and then kick off. That one helps some people as well. So, again, from here, the other way, just like this. Okay. From there, we can go straight into standing. Same thing. Same movement. Except now, I don't have to kick off because gravity. So I'm just going to... Same form. The legs are kind of square, but the upper body turns 45 degrees. Turn my head to the right, get it out of the way of the ground, and just go. Okay, so we have two hands. We got one hand. We have no hands. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is some more dynamic rolls, and the first one is just going to be what we call a roll slap, and it's just a way of getting rid of some of that energy. If you're moving pretty fast and you want to slow down a little bit, you want to release some of the energy, kinetic energy, into the mat. So what you do is you take one hand, let it trail behind you like that, and then slap the mat. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to touch the mat with that hand, because it needs to be free in case you have to slap out. And this does release some of that kinetic energy so that your ultimate slows you down a little bit. Very simple. And if you want to go slow, it's just like doing a regular roll. Boom. And just touch, right? When you're starting out, just go slow, and just touch. And then later, you can let it relax. Boom. And okay, I want you to notice, I'm not doing this. Okay? I'm not rolling and then slapping the mat with force. I'm just letting my arm flop. See that? It's relaxed. Okay? Now, the next one is when you have to flatten out. And we call it roll, flatten out. I guess these are the names that Sensei called them. That's what we've always called them, roll, slap, roll, flatten out. I don't even know what the Japanese term is for that, but we're going to roll, flatten out. So in this one, we're actually letting everything go to the mat. And this would be a pretty hard fall that you want to stop. And you're going here. Okay? This is actually how we learn to do Ukemi. All you're doing is going here. And you stop here. Look at my position. I want you to look at my legs. sit up. What's my position? Same position as before. Okay? So when you roll flat out, you're here. In fact, one of the drills that you can do to practice this is to just switch. Right? That's a practice, that's a drill that we do sometimes, and that helps you to get through this. Okay. The last roll is called a sutemi. Sutemi means sacrifice fall. A lot of times, sutemis are done for no reason except for to show you a nice big fall, but sometimes they are necessary, and if you are thrown really hard and you have to save your wrist, the idea of a sutemi is to sacrifice fall. So what am I doing? Like say my wrist is about to get broken, so I just take a fall to get out of that position. We don't always use it, we don't always find it necessary. It's not as necessary as that you see it done, but you still need to be able to do it because it still comes in handy. So all you're doing is you're going up and down. See. And you end up in the same position as before.